In today's conversation, I would like to discuss with you how I created financial freedom and how you can do the same. How I created financial freedom and how you can do the same. I would like to relate this over to two specific books that were very helpful for me. Two specific books that were very helpful for me, and I'd like to explore the concepts, key concepts from the two books that were very helpful for me. And a lot of times these two books aren't discussed in the same video because on the surface they may seem contradictory. But as you know, I always teach it's not this versus that. It's this and that. You can really think for yourself. Just because a person creates financial freedom this way or that way, it doesn't mean you have to do it their way. Your way is the best way. Your way is the best way. I did it my way. Frank Sinatra, I did it my way, which is the best way. Not only did I achieve financial freedom, I created 3 successful businesses, made many millions of dollars, one in IT, one through business consulting, and the other through my YouTube channel. Not this one here, but my other one, which has over 400,000 subscribers. Not only did I do that, I also had so much fun along the way. Stories, you couldn't even imagine the stories. I've lived in California. I've lived in Austria. I've traveled all over the place. As a matter of fact, from 2013, when I transitioned out of my IT business, till 2018, I was traveling all over the place. 2 years I was in California on a TN visa. While I was doing this, I was having a wonderful time, and I was putting money aside, and inevitably it got to a point where I realized that I don't need to work anymore. It got to a point where the returns on the investments was matching the net income from my business. So then the person might ask, why do you continue to make videos? Why do you continue to do this? Why do you continue to write books, etc.? Because this is what I love to do. Everything just happens. Everything just happens. So you can have financial freedom doing what you love to do. Prior to starting my IT business, I did 10 years in corporate, and I absolutely loved doing IT services for the company that I work for. I loved doing it. Now, you might not love doing it, but that's okay. There are infinite ways to financial freedom, infinite ways. I can only speak from my experience honestly, so what I share on this channel and my other channel is based on personal experience. I'm going to put a link in the description to a video of a guy that retired at 39, and he lives in Dubai. And there are people retiring at the age of 20-something nowadays, and they just maybe choose to work more or run their businesses. I see the videos. They're generating hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, $1 million a month, and I don't know what the net is on that and what their overhead is, etc. But based on my calculations and my style of doing it, they can, if they've been doing it for a little bit of time, sometimes maybe a handful of years, get to a point where they no longer need to run that business anymore, and they can just do whatever. But generally what I find with entrepreneurs and people that do what they love to do, when they get to a point where they have financial freedom, they continue doing what they love to do, because what else are you going to do? Look, I have a wonderful time. I live in Blue Mountains, Ontario. I'm looking at the slopes right now. My property is paid off, and I'm going to be snowboarding tomorrow morning, right at the mountains there, and I absolutely love snowboarding. And then on the weekend, I drive to Toronto, and sometimes what happens, I haven't done it for a while, but over the last 5-6 months, I was traveling every single month. I'd go to Mexico. We've been doing some events through Flow-Based Prosperity and meetups. Tampa Bay, Los Angeles, New York, a bunch of places. So what I'm getting at is your style is the best style. So if you watch this video, I'll link in the description to it, of this individual who retired in Dubai. You can see that he's living his style, which is his best style. I live my style, which is my best style. What is your style? Your style is the best style. So the concepts from these two books here. Book number 1 is The Quantum Leap by Pritchett, and book number 2 is The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. The key concepts of these two books combined together has contributed greatly to my financial freedom. What are the two key concepts? Well, in the quantum leap strategy, Pritchett talks about making bold moves. A bold move for me was to leave my corporate job back in 2009 and start an IT business. That was a bold move, and I'm glad I did it. Because not only did I replace my income that I was generating from my IT business, I 10x'd it. The second was The Slight Edge, or is The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. So in here he says, the secret to success is not the big breakthrough. It is the small, easy steps done consistently. So now you see why I like to relate these books together. Because at times I take a quantum leap. I make a bold move. As a matter of fact, moving up here was a bold move because I was so used to living in downtown Toronto. It was a bold move for me. It took a little getting used to. It was significantly different than coming up here on the weekends to go snowboarding. Yet, when I moved down here during the week, I'm over here. It's super quiet over here. Lots of nature, super quiet. The population, it's mostly people coming up here to hike, to check out the nature, to snowboard. So it's kind of a touristy area. As a matter of fact, they have Blue Mountain Village, which is pretty close by. And people come up here for snowboarding, skiing in the winter. As mentioned, it's starting tomorrow. So it was different. Yet, I found that it was perfect because I get to live over here. This is my base. And then I get to travel wherever. I get to do a drive to Pearson Airport, or I can drive to Toronto, hang out there, and we have Billy Bishop Airport there, and I can fly out and I can go everywhere. A person may say, why wouldn't you just live in downtown Toronto? I did for a number of years, and I found that ideal for me is enjoying my time up here Monday to Thursday or Friday, and then driving down to Toronto and enjoying the weekend there and driving back. Now, some might say that's a long drive, 2.5 hours or something like that. And I say, well, I enjoy driving. I actually do enjoy driving. So you see how your style is the best style. If a person doesn't like driving, then maybe they have a different kind of living arrangement, and that's totally fine. So what were the slight edge activities, and how can we relate these two books together? Well, I like to discuss a few words here: leverage, commitment, and consistency. So now, when I took the quantum leap and left my corporate career, which I was there for 10 years, during a recession, I left. That was a quantum leap. It was a bold move. And there were people around me saying, why are you doing that, Joseph? Why are you leaving a job in corporate? You've been there for 10 years. You get all these benefits. You're making more. The next level is management. Why would you then make this? They didn't call it a quantum leap, but why would you do something like that? And I was listening to the Steve Jobs commencement speech. He said, follow your heart and intuition. Everything else is secondary. And what I have found in my life is when I listen to my heart and intuition, some way it works out. So I felt the burning desire to leave my corporate career and start an IT business, and that is what I did. So I tendered my resignation, started my IT business, and then along the way, while I was building my IT business, I was listening to a lot of podcasts from various entrepreneurs who have built successful businesses. And one of the themes that I would hear in the podcast that I was listening to is focus on high leverage activities, consistently. And what they would say is high leverage activities were direct response marketing, copywriting, and consultative selling. Now, I had a little bit of a rough idea as to what these three are. But these entrepreneurs had already produced results, and they were speaking from experience. And so I said, maybe they're right about this. Maybe this idea of focusing on what is high leverage, which they were saying was direct response marketing, copywriting, and consultative selling, was for me. Now, if you really think for yourself, you know that what I do is I segment entrepreneurship as follows. innovations, sales, operations, marketing, finance, and leadership. I segmented accordingly after building my IT business to success. So when I went into consulting and when I created my entrepreneurial program, for example, I found for me it was very effective to teach it. Now, you might think, okay, well, they said direct response marketing, copywriting, and consultative selling, which falls under the marketing and sales way of how I segment a business, is high leverage. What about the other areas? Do you neglect them? Do you neglect the innovation? Do you neglect the operations? Do you neglect the finance? Do you neglect the leadership? The answer is no. Now, I have seen many kinds of configurations for entrepreneurs. One of the configurations that I've seen is the entrepreneur focuses on the innovation side or the operations side, and they partner with someone who takes care of the direct response marketing, the copywriting, the consultative selling. But it's not neglected. It's not neglected. And they may also do some branding. Yet what I have found is these areas, marketing and sales, are not neglected. So that's one configuration I've seen. What's another configuration? What I've seen is an entrepreneur bring on a firm, an agency who takes care of the direct response marketing, the copywriting, or maybe a number of firms, and the sales. But I always teach, have a good idea, have a good level overview, a high level overview, which I cover in my entrepreneurial program. If you're interested in that, I'll link in the description to it. Have a good level understanding as to what direct response marketing is, copywriting, and consultative selling. So if you do bring someone on, or if you do bring on an agency, you do it from an educated perspective. Educated perspective. So let's explore what direct response marketing is, consultative selling, and copywriting. So direct response marketing, and if you want to copy this mind map, I'll link in the description to it, is marketing that is a style of communication designed to generate an immediate and measurable action from the audience. It focuses on clear messaging, specific benefits, and compels call to action that speaks directly to the reader's needs, pains, desires, etc. So it's sequential. It's sequential. For example, on my other YouTube channel and this one here, I say if you would like a copy of the mind map, the link is in the description. What happens is a portion of the viewers, maybe yourself, will click on the link in the description, and it is not a very fancy looking landing page. Yet a large percentage, believe me, a large percentage of people who click on that page end up opting in, and they join my mailing list. There was a time on my other channel, I have pruned the list considerably. There was 25,000 people on my email list. And when I sent an email out, for example, when I released my mind mapping program, or when I released my subconscious mind program, there was a chunk of that email list, and you may have been one of them, that bought my subconscious mind program. Not only bought that, but also maybe have taken the bundle offers that I had, which is I have 5 programs for $147. The subconscious mind program is not that much, $47. So through direct response marketing, I learned that it is helpful to build an email list. And nowadays people are doing it on Instagram, or they're doing it even, for example, when you have an engaged audience on Instagram, that's a list of people that know, like, and trust you. So I learned how to do it by studying direct response marketing. Now, the thing about me is I'm a fan of direct response marketing, copywriting, and consultative selling. And I found that there is no limit to how good one can be. There's no limit. I continuously get better at it. What I have found is that when I continuously get better at it, the money comes in. It starts rolling in. Literally, with direct response marketing, copywriting, and consultative selling, literally, you can start bringing in some big numbers a month. You can start doing it right away, right out of the gate. Right out of the gate. Right out of the gate. As a matter of fact, when I started out my YouTube channel, the 2013 was when I launched the first video. That was after I transitioned. I was transitioning. I still had sold some of my clients, and I was transitioning through not a very clean way. Now I know more on building a business to scale SOPs and then selling off the business. But hey, I was learning that along the way, but it's totally fine. You learn these things. What happened was when I started that channel, within the first year, that channel was already making $100,000 with less than 1,000 subscribers. How can you make over $100,000 the first year with less than 1,000 subscribers? Well, through consulting deals that came as a result of building relationships with people that I reached out to, that reached out to me from the channel, getting to know them. As a matter of fact, that's what started the traveling to California, one of the deals. Building relationships with people that they would refer me to, closing some deals, doing some joint ventures, etc. Bunch of things. And those are the kinds of things that I talk about also in my book, The Direct Path to $1 million, in my entrepreneurial program. And you learn these things along the way. So that's why I like entrepreneurship. You could do this in your career. You could do this with entrepreneurship. There's many ways of doing it. I personally like entrepreneurship because all that I've learned over the last 16 years has been priceless. So direct response marketing played a big role in that. Now, copywriting. Copywriting is the skill of using written language to inspire a response. It goes hand in hand with direct response marketing. Effective copywriting starts with understanding the audience goals and challenges, pains, desires, frustrations, and then presenting information in a compelling way that highlights benefits, reduces doubts, and guides the reader towards a specific outcome. So, for example, if you write effective copy, and again, one does not have to be perfect at this. Your writing gets better, and you don't have to be perfect at it right away in order to do well. It gets better and better and better. You get more and more sales. Not only do you get more sales, you can find that it's a lot easier to compel people to pay more or jump on a call with you, like a Zoom call. And then when they're on the call, they're pretty much ready to go. And the consultative selling is a lot easier. And thus, you can offer higher ticket. I have one that's a $5,000 offer that's higher ticket. Not only do some of the clients do the $5,000, but they re-up it. So lifetime client value in coaching or consultant can be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 plus, 100,000 plus, depending on your offers, which we call lifetime client value. So consultative selling, what is that? Consultative selling is a relationship-driven approach that focuses on understanding the prospect's goals, challenges, needs, desires, frustrations before offering a solution. That's the key. So instead of pushing or strong-arming or forcing a product, the sales professional asks questions and they look at the situation, they assess it, and they find an offer that is a match, or they tailor the offer in a way that is a match, or they take that, what I call optimization data, and they find other businesses to partner with, or they find other offers that they can make to that prospect that is an actual match. These are some examples, and they'll make that offer. Consultative selling, like copywriting and direct response marketing, you get better and better with practice. These are high leverage for me. And as mentioned, these are high leverage for me. I found that as I continued to refine these abilities, the numbers kept going up. And it got to an interesting point. Where I said, you know what? I could just put out an offer this month and I can have wonderful income this month. And I could just not do anything for a few months, which is what I have done before, and then put out another offer and then have that last you for 3 months traveling, etc. And you can continue to do this. As a matter of fact, I have a few friends that do that. They literally make a bunch of money because they're great at direct response marketing, copywriting, and consultative selling. They make a bunch of money, go and do a bunch of things, run out of the money, And then what happens is they put out another offer or they find another product to promote online. And nowadays it's easier than ever before with all these channels that we have, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and they just do that. Now, that's not my style of financial freedom, because what I have found is when you do bring in those large revenue numbers, and more specifically the net, when you clear it, what I also teach is invest. So I got to financial freedom by A, having a lavish, steady, dependable income consistent with integrity and mutual benefit. And that's the way I like to say it, through entrepreneurship. Although my corporate career played a role as well. I was in $50,000 debt. I got out of debt in a few years by applying Think and Grow Rich, the principles in there. And not only did I get out of debt, I never went back in debt. And I don't have a problem with debt, actually. You can leverage debt. So again, when I say these things, it's not this versus that. There are many nuances to consider. If you would like to have an exploratory conversation with me about your situation and consulting, I'll link in the description to my contact page, and you can get in touch with me and we can explore, because I do consulting as well for entrepreneurs and those that are interested in this area. Now, I teach not only that, number two, have a wonderful lifestyle. So I said I did it my way. Well, over the years, I've been having a wonderful lifestyle since I became an entrepreneur in 2009. And even during corporate, they've had so many stories. Wonderful time. And number three, a portion of that, ideally a large portion of that, because you can actually live really well without spending a lot of money. If you look at all the ways, and we can get into discussion, just leave a comment below and we can explore. We can discuss it in an upcoming video if you would like. How do you live a wonderful life without spending so much money? You can do it. I've done it. And then you can put a large percentage of that money. So even if you're making a lot, let's say you have some windfall profits during the month, yeah, you can, do a little celebration here and there. But to me, I just do what I love to do. So the fruits naturally happen. Here's a way of saying it. The fruits naturally happen. And I absolutely love direct response marketing, copywriting, and consultative selling. And again, it doesn't mean that you have to love doing it. You can not neglect it. You can partner with someone. You can bring on a firm. Those are some ways. And so what I teach as well is put money aside, invest, and then eventually the compounding returns of that and your net worth goes up. And then you can say, you know what? I don't really want to do what I'm doing anymore. You can just transition, or you could sell your business or something like that. And then you have your financial freedom. So now that we talked about direct response marketing, copywriting, and consultative selling, which I found were helpful skills for me to acquire financial freedom, I took the quantum leap and I started an IT business. And then when in my IT business, I developed these abilities. And not only did I develop them in my IT business, when I started my YouTube channel, when I started doing consulting in 2013, I continued to develop these areas. I still do so till this day. Let's talk about leverage. So essentially, these are high leverage for me. These are high leverage. That's why the quantum leap, so this is how we combine the quantum leap with the slight edge to prove that it's not this versus that. It's actually this and that. You take the quantum leap, which is, let's say, in my case, my quantum leap was to start the IT business. Quantum leap. It wasn't an incremental step. It was one step, yes, but it was one that changed everything. And then I consistently refined my direct response marketing, copywriting, and consultative selling skills. Consistently. Commitment and consistency. So that is what was discussed in the slight edge. The small, easy steps, or the small steps done consistently. So commitment and consistency. What is commitment and consistency in this context? Not in the context that Robert Cialdini talked about in Influence the Psychology of Persuasion. In this particular context, it means showing up every day, fully committed to the tasks, projects, initiatives, and in this regard, the high leverage areas. How did I create financial freedom through the two books, The Quantum Leap Strategy and The Slight Edge? I took the bold move, and I realized that when I took the bold move, for me personally, a high leverage thing to do, high leverage, is direct response marketing, copywriting, and consultative selling. And what I did was I committed to making those a priority. And I showed up to each initiative that was related to direct response marketing, copywriting, and consultative selling consistently. Consistency, consistency, consistency. And what happened is my ability and the results started to go up. And it didn't go up like this. It went up exponentially. It went up exponentially. You know, I remember watching a video a while back and someone said something like, when you get to a point that you become a millionaire or you have $1 million in your bank account, because you're so committed to what you're doing, whatever it is that you love to do, and let's say you set out to have $1 million in your bank account, you might not know that you have gotten there. And you look at your bank account one day and you see, oh, I got there. Kinda, that's what happened with me. I was tracking the numbers and I have spreadsheets and calculators, but I wasn't looking at it from a place of stress and frustration. But the money kept compounding until it got to that point and then kept going. It just kept going. And all I did was consistently show up and do the high leverage activities from a state of flow, ideally. In some situations, it was stress and force-based, which is why I teach now entrepreneurship in a flow-based way. You can do it in a flow-based way. You can not only show up, you can show up and commit and perform the initiatives in a flow-based way. Why? Because many benefits, but some of the benefits is you just let everything be. You just let the other things, you don't worry about the other things. Like legitimately, you don't worry about it. There's no thoughts in your mind worrying about the other areas. You get those other areas taken care of. As I mentioned, you don't neglect those areas in flow. They're taken care of in flow. If there's an idea to move forward with, it pops up in your mind and you move forward with it. So let's look at, from a slight edge perspective, commitment and consistency, and a quantum leap perspective, commitment and consistency, because I relate them both together. Again, with me, it's not this versus that. It's this and that. Slight edge examples. Logging simple progress metrics each day to not only reinforce habit formation, but give you the numbers so you can make educated decisions. I'm so glad that one of the ideas that emerged 2004 when I read Think and Grow Rich was to start a finance spreadsheet. And over the years, that finance spreadsheet has evolved. If you're a student of my entrepreneurial program, you see the evolved version of it. Yet I track my metrics, I track my key performance indicators, and I track my numbers, because then when I look at the numbers, I'm not afraid of looking at the numbers. If you're interested in releasing the condition of being afraid of money and numbers, I recommend the video that I released on my other channel on Sunday. I'll link in the description to it, to dissolve that conditioning. Because then when I look at the numbers, I know what move to make next. I know what move to make next because there's optimization data. And I'm not just interested in the numbers based on being involved with my business and then having my finger on the pulse of the various areas. Again, innovation, sales, marketing, operations, finance, leadership. I can make educated decisions. Next is regularly reviewing commitments each week to ensure alignment and steady momentum. So I would notice that I would use Hours Tracker to track my time. We had a discussion about this in a recent video. I'll link in the description to it, a wonderful app called Hours Tracker. And again, it doesn't mean you have to use Hours Tracker, but what it taught me was, where is my time going? And I realized that a lot of my time was, for whatever the reason may be, distraction, shiny object syndrome, was drifting, as Napoleon Hill mentioned in Thinking, as Napoleon Hill had mentioned in Outwitting the Devil, away from what I know personally is high leverage, which is the direct response marketing, the copywriting, and consultative selling. And then I would review those commitments that were drifting based, and I committed them for whatever the reason may be. I stopped committing to them, and I went back to my core initiatives, which again resulted in the money rolling in and the business growing, which inevitably resulted in financial freedom. Next, what is the quantum leap example of commitment and consistency? So this is slight edge examples, two of them. Announcing a major project or deadline publicly, instantly increasing your sense of follow through. I like this one. I don't know if you're a member of my school community, but recently I released a program. It's called the Self-Fulfilling Self-Study. It's all about the real self-knowledge, the real self-knowledge. And so I announced it. I said, okay, I'm releasing this program. I committed to it. It was a quantum leap for me because I never put a program like this together. Generally I make programs on entrepreneurship related, and when it comes down to the metaphysics stuff, I did my subconscious mind program. But real self-knowledge, I never made a program in relation to real self-knowledge. So it was a quantum leap for me to put it all cohesively in a program. So I committed to it. I announced it. I got the idea, and right away I announced it. I remember I went to the school community and I posted over there and I said, I'm releasing a program. It's called the Self-Fulfilling Self-Study. And what I commit to is every week I'm releasing a video. There's 7 videos. There's a mind map, and it's all sequential. Boom. I made the post. I announced it within the group. And then every week I would release a video. I would update the mind map. And I can honestly say it is the best program that I have ever created. Many people have shared it with me. Personally, it's a toss-up, let's say, between my subconscious mind program and the self-fulfilling self-study. Although, if you really like to, again, to keep within the theme of not this versus that, I value both of the programs, and I find that they're both helpful. They're both helpful with each other. Because having the real self-knowledge, and not to get too far off the course of what we're aiming to discuss here, because with the real self-knowledge, you can really think for yourself. You know the self, and you can really think for yourself, and you can place in your mind what is related to your vision, and you can remove what is in the subconscious mind, the beliefs that are not related to the vision. That's why I relate them together. So that's an example of applying the slight edge and quantum leap strategy with commitment and consistency. How can we apply it to direct response marketing, copywriting, and consultative selling? Well, slight edge examples of direct response marketing is publishing 1 new direct response post every day to train your messaging muscle. You can look at it that way. See, I don't know if you've been following me on Instagram, but for a while, from 2000 and when was it? 19, start of 2019, up until 2025 start of, or 2024, I think it was 2024. I'll have to go back and check. I was posting daily on there. Not only was I posting daily, and I'm creating these written text posts. One of the reasons why I did it, someone might say, why are you doing this? What I was interested in primarily was sharing my thoughts in a way that would be helpful for people, that would result in them saying to me, hey, these posts are very helpful in the DMs. And then what would happen is they would look at my programs, because I had a link tree in there, and they would see my offers, and it converted into clients. What I wanted to get really good at, which I got really good at, was coming up with ideas on the fly that was related to my messaging in a way that would point to what I was offering without directly pointing, even though it's direct response marketing, by, you can say, inspiring. That's the art. And that generated a lot of sales for my programs, consulting deals, etc. People might not know it because, again, you might not know what goes on behind the scenes until I talk about it. Yet what I wanted to do was refine my ability to do that. So a lot of people comment, they say, Joseph, you have this great ability to sell without selling. You can literally say a bunch of stuff and it sounds like you're just talking about whatever. But then when I'm interacting with you, I feel inspired to work with you. And I said, yeah, that is how good you can get. And I find that I get better and better each day. So another example of Slide Edge is collecting small pieces of client feedback weekly and weaving them into your messaging, which is what I used to do. Based on the shares, based on the comments, based on what people would DM me, I would weave them into my messaging. And then I started writing emails on my email list more often. Just consistently refining the direct response marketing ability. And again, you don't have to force yourself to do it. I genuinely love to do it. Maybe you love to do the different areas of your business, so you focus on that and you optimize, automate, delegate, eliminate everything else. So you can focus on what you love to do without neglecting the other areas. Quantum leap examples. Creating an offer that dramatically increases inbound leads. Just one offer that, boom, generates a whole bunch of leads. And obviously, if you know how to convert them with good consultative selling skills, or you have people on your team that could do it, a closer, for example, or a sales professional, then numbers go up. Here's another idea. Building a complete direct response marketing sequence that generates consistent leads at scale. When I'm involved with consulting, I see this quite often. There are many businesses that don't even know what direct response marketing is, and thus they do not have a system built on direct response marketing. They do not have a marketing sequence built on direct response marketing. When I have put one in place, if they're open for me to put one in place, or they bring on someone or a firm or an agency to put it in place, I can honestly say I see their results skyrocket. That's how powerful direct response marketing is. So if you put one in place, that can be a quantum leap. Now, if you combine it with the Slide Edge, you can refine your marketing sequence or your funnel and grow continuously. Next, we have copywriting. Slide Edge examples. Writing a small daily practice paragraph to sharpen clarity and tone. Again, that's what I did with my Instagram. Reading examples. Here's another one. Reading examples of good writing for 30 minutes a day. See, according to the Slide Edge, you might not notice the results right away, but I can assure you, over the course, it compounds. It compounds like compounding interest. So the premise of the Slide Edge is this seemingly easy or insignificant steps done consistently, daily, or whatever the ideal frequency is, has compounding results that even he says in the book, if people didn't know what I was doing behind the scenes, they would think it's all quantum leaps because they only see the results, perhaps. They only see the results. That's why I put together this channel here so I could share with you behind the scenes what goes on, what exactly I do behind the scenes. So that way, what you can see is how it actually works behind the scenes. And again, it doesn't mean you have to do these things. Your way is the best way. I just talk from personal experience. And you can apply some of these things, or you may not. The answer is depends. Quantum leap examples. Rewriting an outdated sales page with a fresh structure, instantly improving readability and conversions. That's one. Now, if you look at my stuff, you'll see, hey, Joseph, you could do more of these things, more quantum leaps, more Slide Edge. Absolutely. You can keep going forever, but it doesn't mean you have to do it. You can make a lot of money. You can be financially free, even if you're somewhat okay with it. I can honestly speak from experience in the earlier stages. I was somewhat okay at it. Then I started to get better. And even then, I get people asking me if they would like to take them on as a service provider or something like that to optimize my various VSLs and landing pages and opt-in forms. And you can do that if you'd like. Absolutely. If you refine it, the numbers go up. But you don't have to do it forever. What I'm saying is that just make whatever kind of money you want to make. Map it out. This is what I did. How much would you like to be worth? What is your net worth? How much would you like to be worth? And based on that, what are your commitments? Family, what kind of lifestyle you want to live, etc. Essentially, how do you want to live your life? And how much capital, also considering inflation, is required. Consider that, because let's say you're living off 120,000 or 60,000 a year, or whatever it may be, 200,000, whatever your lifestyle is that you want to have. 200,000 or 120,000 this year is not going to be that same kind of lifestyle with 120,000 30 years from now. It's going to be whatever, keeping consideration inflation, whatever it may be. It could be something like 300,000 or something like that. That's how much you would have to have. So essentially, if you invest and you're getting good compound returns and you map that all out, I actually made a video on this channel about retirement calculator if you're interested in that. I just call it the retirement calculator. It Doesn't mean you have to retire. I just call it that for giving it a name as a placeholder. Because what I found, as I mentioned a number of times, is it doesn't mean you have to stop doing what you love to do. You can continuously do what you love to do. Of course, you're going to continue making money, but then you can reallocate it for your investments. You can give back. You can do a lot of things with money. So what happens is over the course, factoring the inflation, your lifestyle, etc., you'll be able to have whatever according to that rate. Again, this video that I linked in the description of this guy talking about how he lives in Dubai, figured it out, and he lives accordingly. Again, he did something similar to that. He planned it all out. And it doesn't take a lot of work to plan it out. This is the thing. I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I planned out earlier. You know, I have worked with a number of entrepreneurs, a number of them, that just focused on making money. And they pulled in some big numbers, yet they lost it. Or they don't have the money. And I said, what's going on? No shame, no condemnation. It's because they did not put the money aside, a percentage aside. They were putting that money into what Robert Kiyosaki in his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, would doodads. He called it doodads, you know, shiny objects, this and that. Look, you can still have a wonderful time. You can still have a wonderful time. As a matter of fact, when I was in Los Angeles, off Turo, I had a Porsche for a number of months. I worked a deal out and I had a Porsche for a number of months. And then after, I didn't even have to maintain the car. I gave it back and it was great. So that was one way you get to enjoy the toys. You can lease the toys. You can do all kinds of things. I'm not going to get into that in this video. If you would like for me to get into that, how to go about doing it, you can leave a comment below. What I'm getting at is if you put money aside, if you put some money aside and you invest it, you do that as well. And if you put a considerable amount, but if you put whatever amount aside that is related to your net worth goal, you eventually get there. You eventually get there. And this is not something that I see often talked about online as much as I see how to make $100,000 or $200,000 or $300,000 a month. And even that, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a month, I've seen some of these businesses and their margins are something like, profit margins are something like 10%, 15%. So on the surface, it looks like, oh, this person's making $100,000 a month. But their net profit is $10,000 a month. But another person may be making, they say, oh, I make $30,000 a month, $40,000 a month. And you might think, oh, it's not as much as the person making $100,000 a month. But their net profit, if they're making $30,000 a month, could be something like $25,000 a month. How so? Lean operations, lean business model, etc. If you want me to discuss that, I like lean business model. I've always been about that. If you're interested, leave a comment and we can explore in upcoming videos. This is why really thinking for yourself is very helpful. Your way is the best way, and it's key to be educated. You know, nowadays we have ChatGPT, we have coaches, we have consultants, we have people creating videos talking about this stuff. We live in a wonderful time. All the information is available, a lot of times free on YouTube, like this video here. Another quantum leap example with respect to copywriting. Produce a full email sequence that immediately increases sales volume. A full email sequence to your mailing list. So you have 25,000 or 10,000 or 5,000 or 1,000 people. What if on your opt-in form, you put an email sequence that is designed to build a relationship with them, like, trust, and throw in some offers now and then. What I have found is that results in sales. You could say autopilot. It absolutely does. It results in sales. Consultative sales. Slight edge examples. Making one small daily promise to yourself, like 5 emails or 5 outreaches, 5 new prospecting sessions a day, something like that. That may not make a difference over the course of a week, although it can. I've seen it happen. Sometimes you acquire a big client. I'm not closed off to that. And bring in a big amount of money, as for example, I gave the example of my YouTube channel. But what I've seen is the consistency is over the course, you start landing more and more deals, the numbers go up, your skill gets better at consultative selling, the conversion goes up, and even the fear of criticism or fear of rejection or whatever it may be, the emotional reactivity to doing prospecting or outreaching dissolves, and it feels like breathing air. Next, recognize one small win or insight the prospect shared to show attentiveness during the consultative selling session. Quantum leap examples. Announcing a major project or deadline publicly instantly increases your sense of follow through. You commit publicly. That's one of my strategies. I've done this a number of times for programs, etc. Next, bring on a professional closer who can take over sales conversions and significantly raise your close rate from day one. Again, maybe you're getting in a lot of leads, but you don't like doing consultative selling. And maybe you are pretty good at it, but if you bring someone on who is very good at it, is professional, yeah, you give them a cut out of the deal. Obviously, they get paid really well, but they close so many deals, you bring in more revenue, and this is where you play with it, because look, if you're giving them a good cut out of the deal, then that's great. They benefit greatly. They love it. They make good money. You bring in more revenue. Also consider the lifelong client relationship. Now that you have this relationship with them, and the margins can be really good, depending on how you adjust your pricing, etc. That's one thing to consider. But lifetime client value. If they had a great relationship with you right from the beginning, a lot of times what I've seen is they come back and buy additional products and services. They take recommendations that you make for additional products and services that you can partner with other businesses to refer their products and services over to them, or you can partner with other businesses, these are some few examples, to create products and services and offer them. So what happens then is this closer or this professional sales closer or sales professional, they make wonderful income. You know, they get to drive whatever car, whatever. It's a pretty sweet deal, actually. They don't even have to fulfill or whatever. They make really good money. And I know people that do really well just by doing sales and have achieved financial freedom just by doing sales. As a matter of fact, when I was in corporate, I remember there was this company that was brought in. I won't say the name for confidentiality, but they were brought in to help us with some stuff. And one of their sales reps closed a huge deal. It's a huge deal for oil rigs. Okay, so what happened was after closing that deal, which was many millions of dollars, their commission on that was enough to say, you know what, I'm done. That's it. They retired off that one deal. So not only do you bring on someone that can have, consider that as well, because you might have a sales professional who will do really well and then maybe move on. We put systems in place to take care of that. Nothing wrong with that. They had systems in place to take care of that. I mean, they want their sales reps to do well and have those kinds of deals so they can benefit greatly, but they have people poised and ready to go in case that were to happen. So now, not only does the sales rep benefit greatly, you benefit greatly, and you have lifetime client value potentiality. You see, that's a quantum leap example. Let's look at some more examples of slide edge in action. And this is being general now. I know I gave some examples with respect to direct response marketing, copywriting, and consultative selling. Let's look at it more general, why I value these two books and why they help me achieve financial freedom. Allocating 15 minutes a day to refine a process, slide edge, which slowly turns a messy workflow into a streamlined system. Just 15 minutes a day. Reusing and repurposing content weekly so one idea generates multiple assets over time. As we're talking about this, I do some of these things in specific areas, and I don't do it as much as other people that I know, yet I am financially free. If you consider these areas and you do it more than me, you can achieve financial freedom a lot easier, and financial freedom is individualized. Some people, financial freedom is billionaire level. They want to live in Monaco. Some people want to live in Playa del Carmen, Mexico, or Cozumel, or they want to live in California or Blue Mountains, Ontario, or Dubai, or whatever. Your style is the best style. Yet you can do it no matter what level. You can have that financial freedom. Next, developing a team member a little each week, gradually increasing their ability to handle important tasks. That's wonderful as well. Very rewarding. Slide edge. Look at quantum leap. Licensing your existing intellectual property so it reaches new markets without additional effort. Quantum leap, licensing model. Implementing automation software that instantly reduces dozens of manual tasks. AI helps tremendously with that now. Partnering with an organization that distributes your offer at scale right away. And that's what I found to be very helpful. I partnered with a number of organizations. Those partnerships were enough to generate a considerable amount of revenue. So you may do some of these sometimes, or you may do some of these consistently, and whatever you do consistently compounds. And I also consider, without getting too identified with just repeatedly doing the same thing again and again and again, a healthy ratio of quantum leap. And you'll see it. What do you see? You see me make 3 videos a week, 2 videos on the other channel, 1 video a week on this channel consistently. You see me send out emails consistently. You see me do flow-based prosperity 2 sessions a week consistently. I post in my school community every day. As a matter of fact, let's pull up the school community. As you can see here, if I go to my profile, since I started this service, I've shown up every day. Consistently. And it doesn't take a lot of time because, and this is what I love to do. So we'll see, like, for example, it shows Joseph Rodriguez fire here, little fire icon, because I've been consistent. Now, what happens is, not only do people benefit greatly from this, not only am I getting all kinds of optimization data, it is also resulting in more back-end deals. People becoming coaching clients, people becoming members of Flow-Based Prosperity, people becoming students of my 5 programs, etc., etc., etc. And in the earlier stages, I realized this. It was inevitably going to get to this point, financial freedom. And then when it got to that point, what happened was I realized that I love doing this so much. I'll just keep doing it consistently because I love to do it. Of course, I'm going to be snowboarding tomorrow morning, but I have the space. That's the wonderful thing. Tuesdays, I have some commitments, but prior to the commitment, I'm going to be snowboarding. 2, 3, 4 hours even. Most likely it'll be an hour or 2, but I have that space, and I also have the space in the evening. So I've set it all up so that I can do what I love to do, yet I also do this because I love to do it. So you can get to that point as well. How cool of a point to get at. It's a wonderful place to be. It's a wonderful place to be where in the earlier stages, you do what you love to do. It generates a lavish, steady, dependable income, consistent with integrity and mutual benefit. While you're doing that, you have a wonderful lifestyle. And then you put money aside, you invest, the money compounds, you have financial freedom. And then you say, you know what? Do I want to continue doing this? You may or may not. And now you're in an interesting place because let's say if algorithm were to change and AI is a great example. Many have been watching videos, they've been talking about this. What if at a particular point, the majority or all of the content on the internet is AI generated? Now, if I didn't consider what I am mentioned in this video, I would be very worried. If it went in that direction, fine. Maybe I'll do something else. Maybe whatever, we'll see. Maybe then I'll just do pure snowboarding all the time, or who knows, maybe I'll get into skiing. Maybe I'll be involved with AI in some shape or form. Who knows? But it's nice to not be worried about it, which is why I put together these videos. And now you have the ability to start now. See, valuing the compound effect, we get the benefits by starting now. Now is the moment to start. I value this opportunity now. I value this moment now. I fully commit to this moment now, this task, this project, this initiative. What do you see when you see me talk with you? You see me talking into a camera and talking with a mind map. I'm like this. And you can ask any member of Flow-Based Prosperity School community who has hung out with me behind the scenes, and also when we do our meetups. I'm like this outside of these sessions. I just consistently show up and do these things. What am I doing when I connect with people? I'm learning about them. I'm getting to know them. I'm refining my consultative selling skills. I am discovering pains, needs, desires, frustrations, and it's happening very effortless, fun, joyous. Looks like Joseph's just having a wonderful time. I am having a wonderful time. And also what's happening is I'm getting ideas to make content about, write books about, create programs about, make technology on if I wanted to get back into technology, come up with how AI can fit into the mix, whatever. And it's happening effortlessly. So what I have found is through commitment and consistency, just doing what you love to do, not only do the results happen, but you have a wonderful time and you get to a point where you achieve financial freedom and you just keep doing that anyways, whatever it is that you are doing that contributed to financial freedom. So I just found this video to be helpful. If you'd like a copy of this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk with you soon. Take care.